One of the guys, you can see in this slide, it tells about, this was one of the, what Greg talked about doing. He went ahead and said, one of the gardens we need is a teaching garden in James City County for not only the master gardens, but also for the residents. So he got together with, Greg Allen got together with Gordon Chapel, the Landscape and Facilities Services in Colonial Williamsburg in fall of 1999. They recognized the need for a learning and teaching garden and a demonstration garden available to the James City County and also the Williamsburg residents. Since CW had this conspicuous garden area located between Duke of Gloucester Street and the inn, it was the perfect spot. And with the advice and support of the master gardener, they agreed to design, plant, maintain, and separate herbs, vegetables, and flower beds. And in this area would also include the orchard. Okay, the location of the garden is, let's see if I can get that to do the right thing, is right here. I have a map. And we also, later on, we did this in 2000, but in 2006, we also did the Shields Garden. I'm going to incorporate that into that because it is another teaching garden that we really work together on. Okay, this was the beginning of the Shields Garden. And if you look at it today, it doesn't look anything like this. But they were able to set up, the theme was, in the garden was to replicate the plants and the vegetables of the 1750s. In spring of 2000, the work began under the stewardship of Greg Allen, Shirley Livingston, D. Albright and Pierce, and Bob and Courtney Strang, and Rudy Roberts. There were more than 50 master gardeners that worked on this project. I was not there in the spring of 2000, but I was there in the spring of 2001. So this is how it looked. And you can see they were just working on the basic type things. And I want you to look at the first slide. You see, I don't think that showed. I want you to show, it was mostly vegetables and herbs and very few flowers. You can see where the person is there. And that was the flower garden. And you can see now in this slide, this was September. The initial one was May, and now it is September. And you can see the vegetables are growing and very limited flowers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Shields Garden. Susan Dupree came to us when we were working in the garden one day, and she said, "Pat, we have another garden. Would you be interested?" Well, of course, I said yes. That was my thing, to be in everybody's garden. So a group of us went down to the Shields Garden and we almost died. It was just weeds about 3 feet tall. This was in March. So we proceeded to go down. I put a blue tarp. If you notice, there's a blue tarp on the ground there. We took every single perennial out that there possibly was. There were no bulbs at that time. So we mostly had daylilies. We had Rebeckias, 2 varieties of Rebeckias, and that was about it. So we put it there. We actually, you can see the people. There's Linda Taskey, there's Marianne Carlson, there's Barbie Siegel, there's me, and I couldn't remember the other person that was there with the white hat. Anybody recognize that person? But anyway, we dug it all out. We put compost down. We got the gardener to let us use his rototiller. And so we rototillered all the gardens, and then we replanted the plants that were there. So I'm gonna now talk about the Orr-Reid Garden. This is the spring, we're talking about spring garden. So I'm going to show you just pictures as we went along, and then I will talk about little things as we go along. There's also veggies and herbs. You can see on the fence, we have roses. This is the spring, we have a lot of daffodils. We have a lot of different varieties of daffodils. I do have a plant list of everything that we have in the garden now. It is set up from March till November. And if you want to be obsessed like I am, to keep track of when you plant things and when things bloom and when you put seeds in and all these things, you can mark it in these little squares. So that if you have a vacant spot, you can remember that you need to do something that month. So anyway, there's a list of all the daffodils that we have. And this is the spring garden. And you can see we have tulips, we have anemones, we have hesperus. This purple flower is not, it's purple and white. It is not, everybody thinks it's phlox, but it's hesperus or Dame's rocket. It's a wildflower. If you drive up through to the mountains right now, it's actually growing in along the roadside. It's the same thing we plant in the garden. And then we plant a lot of I call winter annuals. We plant a lot of little forget-me-nots. These are Johnny jump ups. We plant a variety of English daisies, and then there's the anemones there. And we also have roses. This is all early spring that is coming out in bloom. We have the Cherokee rose, and then we plant dianthus. Now we used to have this rose here. It's Virginia rugosa. We used to have that in the Shields garden. It's not there anymore. It kind of did itself in for a while there, but they did take cuttings of it, so it will be available throughout the CW. Now, it's a very fragrant rose. If you want to have a very unusual rose that only blooms one time, it's kind of unreasonably and just goes where it wants to go. But anyway, it's very fragrant. And so this is more of what we have growing in the garden in the springtime. This is what we've planted. We have the tulips. We have wood hyacinths. Some people call them English bluebells, but they're really a hyacinth. We also have foam flower. If you have a wooded area, these grow in the shade, and they're beautiful in the springtime. More of the spring garden. We do put not just dianthus, but we put.
This meeting is.
It's somebody else.
Okay. We cannot have the daisies, the big daisies, Shasta daisies, but we do have oxeye daisies, which is the field daisy. And we have more daffodils. We do have basket of gold, you see here. These are all planted in the fall for our spring. And then we also have the native columbine. You can drop your seeds of your native columbine in the fall or anytime they are in bloom and you get the seeds, you drop them, you will have them. They will grow up, but remember what they look like. We plant foxglove in the fall, so it's blooming in the spring. Here's a large, it shows area of the foam flower. We also have your rose, old blush, which is a beautiful rose. And normally when you have your old-fashioned roses, you prune them after they bloom. If you prune them before they bloom, you won't have any blooms. So you can prune your hybrids in the spring, but you don't prune your natives or your old-fashioned roses until after they bloom. So we planted more daffodils. We plant 450 tulips every year. And it sounds like a lot, but we have a method of doing it. Now, there's more hesperus and we also plant forget-me-nots. forget-me-nots will reseed themselves if you let them reseed and you don't pull the seedlings out. In more Johnny jump ups, more basket of gold, and this is a failure. This is a beautiful white a daffodil. And you can see here is more of the same thing. I accidentally got this. This is a geranium. We do plant a geranium in the summer, but it's not a fall planting. All these are fall planted. But the geranium is the Monticello geranium, and we plant that in the summer. Here's more, and you see even the more foam flower. This is English daisy. They come in pink, white, and red, so you can mix them. Okay, we're gonna now go summertime. This is in the Shields garden. They do a wonderful job also. You can see right here, we have one variety of Rebecca. Now, a lot of people have planted this Rebecca and they don't like it because it gets 8 to 10 feet tall. However, when it's 3 feet tall, if you cut it in half, it will be 4 feet tall. And that's what they do in the corner. We've always done this in the corner of the Shields garden, so that we have this, and it blooms a little bit later, but it'll give you the fall bloom. We also have the oxeye daisies, and see, they've done a beautiful job of the dianthus. We do have sunflowers. This is lemon. This is a lemon. Exact name. This is lemon queen. We do also plant another one, and you'll see it a little bit later. We planted the white Italian sunflower, and it's yellow. Even though it's white Italian, it's yellow. Now you'll see here we have in the top corner there's a variety of tobacco plant. If you call it tobacco plant, Nicotina, Nicotiana, wherever you came from and the name you learned, that's fine. But there's several different varieties, and you'll see the other variety. We do have phlox. This is a picture of a phlox that's hybridized itself in our garden. You'll see the original color shortly, but you'll see that this one is a light color with a variation of white and pink in it. That's not the color that was in the 18th century, but they're doing their own thing. We also have here is a blue lobelia. It's nice to have blue flowers in the garden. We have a variety of coxcomb. We have a variety of Rebecca. Now we have a bench underneath this apple tree that doesn't look very healthy this year. But if you sit there and you kind of look at the garden, if you're working and you need to take a break, you can just sit down and look and enjoy the garden, because it really is very pretty. We have balsam. A balsam it's the predecessor of our impatiens. And if you look at it, it looks a lot like the new sun patience, the leaf of it, the variety of it. It self-seeds. If you look very closely, you see the little footballs, those are the seed pods. And if you have grandchildren, this seeds itself. If you have grandchildren, you put that little football in their hand, and then you say, touch it, and the thing pops the seeds all over the place. It's fun. So we do have Monarda. We have the red Monarda. It's quite tall, but everything in our garden is tall. Everybody's looking for the little tall ones that are 12 to 18 inches that you buy in Lowe's. Not in our garden. Everything is very tall, but that's the way it was in the 18th century before they hybridized everything. I like everything tall. When you walk in the garden and there's a breeze, it's moving, it's talking to you. It's not that, oh, I'm a soldier and I can't move. No, it's really a very pleasant place to be. Now, we also, the one in the middle there is 4 o'clocks. If you plant 4 o'clocks, you always have 4 o'clocks. So you plant them where you want them to be, and they're going to stay there. They will come up every year. 4 o'clocks, if you want 4 o'clocks, you don't have to buy the plant, just buy a package of seed. You'll have tons of them. But if you want to get rid of them out of your garden, the root is, it looks like a black carrot, a big, long black carrot. You must dig that out to get rid of them. So put them where you want them and keep them kind of in an area by themselves. And now 4 o'clocks, you say, they bloom at 4 o'clock. But if you're a morning person and you get up in the morning and you're up at, say you like to walk out in your garden at 7 o'clock with a cup of coffee and walk through it, your 4 o'clocks are going to be in bloom. They bloom in the morning. Sun comes out, it gets hot, they close up. 4 o'clock, the sun starts to go down and they come out again. So you can enjoy them all the time. And there are many, many different colors. They're not just white and pink, they're striped and all different varieties. And the other one on the bottom there is red valerian. Red valerian is, this one, sometimes it gets more vivid, but it is a plant that is very pretty. It's lovely to have in the garden. I like to put it that it grows through the fence because it gets taken over by many of the other plants. But when it's growing through the fence on the other side, people see it and they say, what is that plant? But the one thing about red valerian is you don't cut it down in the fall. If you cut it down in the fall, it will die. You need to allow it to keep it's like an artemisia. You don't cut an artemisia down in the fall, it will die. So you wait. And this is one that you let grow. And then in the spring, when it starts to leaf out, then you cut it down and you shape it the way you want to. I learned all these things by mistake. Now, because 20 years is a lot of time, and I was a master gardener before I came here. And I did gardening in Northern Virginia for 30 years. This is in the Shields garden that year, and they are beautiful this year. The snapdragons are absolutely gorgeous. And we have marigolds, same as the marigolds that they had in the 18th century, same as you go to Lowe's. And here's at the Shields garden, there's also this is a massive Rebecca triloba. This one is a smaller bloom. It recedes all over the place, but it's a wonderful one. It blooms later. Everything that you have blooms early, and this one blooms later in the season. So if you have your daylilies blooming, you can plant this around it, you will have it. And this is showing the picture of along Colonial Street. You can see how we've allowed the plants to grow through the fence. That brings people into the garden because they want to know about it. The same thing happened here and with the tobacco plant. This is Rick's picture. He sent me that one time, long time ago. Now the other thing is this yellow is Carolina thermopsis. It's the only lupin that we can really grow here and that grows all the time. It goes by runners. The only thing is when it's coming up, you want to make sure not to step on the new growth or it won't bloom that year. Or you can actually just kill it by stepping on the new growth. So you need to know where it's coming up. Now I do save seeds. I do have seeds of this. If you want to grow this, you must refrigerate the seeds for 3 months before they will germinate. We have oak leaf hydrangea, which is a native. And so that blooms and after it blooms, you wait until the blooms get brown and then they don't look so good in August. And that's the best time to prune your oak leaf hydrangea anyway. And then I also have another picture so you can sit on the bench and rest because you get tired when you're working in the garden. Now this is big springtime bloom. This is when the foxglove is blooming, the oxeye daisies are blooming, the hesperus is blooming. You can see another plant coming in here. That's right now, this was this summer, this was massive. It was a beautiful spring. Now, we also have red lobelia. It's one of the reddest plants that you have. And then this is the plant that we put in 2 years ago or last year, and it's vervain. And it's an herb, but it's made its way into my garden. So we were experimenting with it to see how well it would do, and it did wonderful. I cut it back this year and it's coming back beautiful. The plant has doubled in size. And on this one, in order to keep it blooming, you have to deadhead it. I'll tell you about deadheading. Here's some more. I love you can tell how I love the variety of dianthus here in the Shields Tavern. Now we do have blue ageratum we plant in the summer. This is the white Italian sunflower. Do you see? It's not white, it's yellow. Okay, and here's some more. This is the rose campion. It's a magenta color. Now you can get this in white, and every once in a while, one of our plants turn white. Right now, they are the magenta, they're in full bloom. It's a biennial. I have tons of them coming up in my garden this year that have gone to seed. They will be my next year's bloom. So I keep bringing them in. If you work in my garden, you're going to get some of these seedlings that come up in my garden at home. This is the phlox that we have in the garden. This is the color that's the original color. And that's some more of the white Italian sunflower. And we have some marigolds underneath it. In the far one here, we do have our globe amaranthus or gomphrena. And this is the white one. We do have purple and we do have pink. It's a wonderful plant. We do not, if you go to the nursery, and the first time I've seen the tall ones this year, but usually you see these little short little ones that are Tom Thumb. Who wants little round balls all over the yard? But that's what they do. But these tall ones, now, when you get these plants and you get it, I saw them in Lowe's, and I don't think they'll probably have them again because they went like that. They're tall like this, but when you get them, you're going to cut them in half. And that, by doing that, it's going to spread into a big plant instead of one tall one. Don't be afraid to cut your plants. Don't be afraid to prune them. Okay, people don't like celosia because they say it's all over the place. Well, to move this up here. Do you see how they come in different shapes and sizes? I'm going to go to the next slide, and there's some more. These were all planted not looking like this. Every year they change. Now this year, do you see the one on the far side? Somebody said that looks like a rooster. It became a rooster. And now if you look at the middle one, the plants have all different shapes and sizes. But what you do is when they're all over your garden, you pick and put them where you want early. They transplant easily. And then as they grow, you prune here, you prune there, you prune here. You make them do what you want them to do. If you look at the next slide here, you can see we actually had ones that looked like firecrackers one year. I don't know where it came from. We don't change the seeds, but they do come. We have the big heavy coxcomb. And this was the one that came up this year, the one in the middle. That's what it did the whole season. So I do save some seeds of these ones, and then I can never remember what one they are. So if you go ahead and you get them, I'm not sure whatever you want to share, but it's wonderful that you can make plants do what you want to do. I didn't get a picture of it, but one year in the corner of the vegetable garden, they left one plant and it became 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And every branch had a different variety of bloom. So if you only want one, you can do that. You can do what you want with your plants. Okay, we're going to talk about the vegetable garden. I learned so much watching them plant the different things in the vegetable garden. I have a list here that I've enjoyed watching the changing of the vegetable garden. And people love it because they do label the rows what the vegetable garden is, and people come in and they're, oh, what's that one? What's that one? Unfortunately, when Scott's there, it's wonderful because he knows all about it. But I don't know all the vegetables, but I'm really trying to learn. And the one I used to love that they made all the time, they planted in the spring, was the tennis ball lettuce. Have you ever grown tennis ball lettuce? It's delicious lettuce you ever taste. It tastes like butter. And they always plant them in the vegetable garden, and they're just little bitty, looks like a little bitty tennis ball. And I actually grew some one year, but then the rabbits and the deer get in my area. But anyway, the vegetable garden is really very attractive. Let's see if I can go one. Sometimes vegetables go to flowers. Do you see what happened here? That's not kale, that is, tell me what that is. It goes to, it's, I don't know, it's not.
It's mustard over there.
Mustard, yeah, mustard plant. That's what went to seed. And it was wonderful because it was spring and it made the garden really alive very early in the season. And then the other one is starting of the herb garden, and that's the calendula on the herb garden. Okay, herbs. I used to work the herb garden when Arlanda was there. We kind of work it together. And, you know, I got a little carried away one year and put too many Johnny jump ups in. But they do use the Johnny jump ups at the palace, and they candy them. And they give them to the children when they come around. And they do put Johnny jump ups in the herb garden. It wasn't just me. But you can see they have a number of different, they have artemisias, and if I go back here, you can see beyond the calendulas, you can see the fennel, the big fluffy fennel. The fennel gets very tall in the herb garden, and the butterflies love it. We can count, there's times you can count 50 or 60 little caterpillars on the fennel, just standing there. And then they have this clary sage, which is, to me, is a beautiful plant, and it blooms. You see the beautiful pink bloom on it. And what they did in the 18th century is they would butter those and saute them and use them as an appetizer. But there were other things they could use in other things. So that was the one thing that I thought was really good. And it's a very, very subtle sage taste. It's not real sharp. And then we had a number of, you can see in the top one, the nasturtiums were really growing that year. And then Mary Ann, you can see one of our volunteers, she was so good at keeping the garden trimmed. And then the other one, I always wanted this in my flower garden. This is garden valerian. It's not the red, it's the herb garden valerian. And when you walk by it, it is so fragrant. And it's a beautiful plant. You see, I took a picture of it. I liked it so much. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about how you do seedlings to blooms. Okay, I have this thing that when I do a lot of seeds, and when my plants are coming up, I don't want you to pull out the seedlings. So the anemone is a bulb, and it is a beautiful flower. It comes in red, white, pink, purple, all different colors. But when you get the bulb, it looks like a dried up turd. And what you need to do in order to get it to bloom and grow, you need to soak it for 8 to 9 hours overnight, or even 12 hours, 14 hours. It smells terrible, so keep it outside. But then you plant them down 2 to 3 inches. And, but then you need to, when it starts to come up, please don't pull up the leaves, because you'll get this beautiful flower. It looks like a weed. I have a book of weeds that I bring, and I say, this is the weed and this is the flower. And our bachelor buttons have done wonderful. They grow the seedlings for us in CW. We planted them last year, and they are gorgeous this year. And what we have done is, you see the plant, I cut it in half when I put it in the fall, and that makes it spread. Otherwise, you get a tall single one. So, and what we did this year is we planted those, but we planted in an area of about 3 to 4 plants together. And our blooms are this big, an area of our bachelor buttons this year. They're gorgeous. And we thought we had all blue ones. We have pink ones. We have light, almost white ones. They came all different colors. Now, I grew up in New York State, and they never got any taller than that. They were very short. Okay, now Love in the Mist. This is another flower that we plant from seed. And you can see the seedlings look like weeds. And so we plant these in October, November. What I do is I have them in one area, and I cover them, and I also plant poppies in this area too, and I actually cover these with burlap in the fall. We have trouble with the rabbits liking to eat this. So by covering it with a piece of burlap, discourages the rabbits. And then in the spring, we uncover it, and this is what the Love in the Mist comes. And it is white, pink, dark blue, light blue. So it is, and then we also save the seeds, but you gotta save them kind of early because the rabbits like them too. Okay, and this is the red lobelia. This is in bloom, and this is, I'm going to show you what the plant looks like in the winter time, so you don't pull it out. I have these pictures that I bring to the garden. This is the Carolina thermopsis. Doesn't that look like a weed? No? A lot of people think it looks like a weed. And the thing is, the Carolina thermopsis actually grows by runners. So you go ahead and you have to see that they might be 3 feet from where the plant was last year. Now this is the rose campion. This is the one you plant one year and you have it the next. And this is the variety what all the seedlings look like. And you can separate them. They will transplant very easy. So you can put them in groups. And I must have 500 in my yard this year. Okay, everybody has to have sundrops. And this is what they look like in the winter time. They do transplant, they just kind of creep and make their own big masses. So, but they're beautiful in the springtime and they're blooming right now. This is the native columbine. I didn't have a baby picture of the columbine coming up, but if you look at that and you imagine that small, people think that's oxalis, the kind of like the weed that grows with the yellow flower, and when it's very small. So if you want this, you know where you planted them, or you think you know where you planted them. I can never remember. So, you know, this is what it will be, and it will self-seed all the time. Okay, and this is the Dame's rocket. The seeds are on the plants now. Best to let, when you're saving seeds, best to let them dry on the plant. But we are going to end up pulling these out shortly because we're going to they're finishing blooming. There now is a lot of seeds on those. we will save these seeds. So if you want to plant them, you can get them to grow. Okay, this is my larkspur. We cannot grow delphinium here because we get crown rot. Now I see it in the stores this year, and I'm anxious to know, I saw somebody had planted 2 in our neighborhood. I'm gonna see how long they grow, because I've never been able to grow them more than 4 weeks or so, because they get crown rot. As soon as the blooms go, they get crown rot here. We get too hot and humid. They're beautiful up in Canada, beautiful up in New York State. But in Michigan, they're gorgeous. But here we cannot grow them. Same family as larkspur. You put the seeds in the fall. You allow the seeds to drop on the plants. However, you cannot transplant them. No matter how small they are, you cannot transplant them. I mean, maybe you're lucky sometime, but if you want mass, you cannot transplant. So what you need to do is, if you look here, I have all the different, I have pictures. You see the first leaf, the second leaf, the third leaf, and then a large clump, and then you see the plant. That's what you need. If you want larkspur, you put it in the fall. And then you allow it to grow. It's ferny, but what I love about it is it's one of the plants that really moves when there's a light breeze. Okay. Is anybody growing any Virginia bluebells? They're wonderful to grow, provided you don't dig where they are. We did have some in the garden, and we moved plants around, and we did dig these up someplace. They're not there right now, but we'll get them again. The thing about Virginia bluebells is the root is very, very succulent. It's like a big glob. And so if you, in the springtime, all of a sudden one leaf comes up, another leaf comes the next day, and another leaf comes the next day. Within a week, you have your plant all up. And then it comes into bloom. It is only in bloom for maybe 3-4 weeks. And then all of a sudden, you say, where did my bluebell go to? They just go. They just disappear. You don't even have to clean the leaves. So if you're ever going up through the mountains and you're heading through Goshen off 81, look over the edge. And down by the cow pasture river, there is an area of Virginia bluebells as big as this room. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm driving on, my husband's driving, and I said, stop, we gotta see the bluebells. It's on a cliff. And he goes, no, we're not stopping. So, but you can look over the edge and make sure somebody else is driving, but it's gorgeous. Okay, now fall. I'm gonna tell you what we do in the fall. This is, let me see if I can go to the next one. You see, we have cut all the perennials back, removed all the annuals, summer annuals. And then we go ahead and we plant, we plant our winter annuals. And that I've told you the name of some of them. And we plant them now, and that's your, we plant the snapdragons, we plant the forget-me-nots, we plant, let's see, I have a huge list. We plant Johnny Jump Ups, we plant the Hesperus of the Dames Rock, we plant our foxglove, we plant wallflower, we plant China pinks, we plant bachelor buttons, English daisies, and basket of gold. But before we do all this planting, we plant usually 400 tulips. We plant late single blooming late blooming tulips. And what we do, because we use them as annuals, and if you leave your tulips in the ground, we don't get cold enough to produce the next bloom. You might get a little bitty something, but you're not going to get a major thing. So we just plant, we dig a hole 10 inches wide and about 10 inches deep, and we put our tulips in there. We mark them with a flag because we're going to plant our annuals around them. We don't want to plant a big plant on top of our tulips. So we plant around the tulips at that point. And we plant 450, we dig 45 holes and we plant our tulips. And then we plant our annuals, and that's what we get to this. Okay, we have had winter, big time winter in the garden. And I want to show you, this was a picture that I took one winter. And do you see this big tree? That used to be our shade tree. It went down in a hurricane. It's a paper mulberry, and it was so big and it was so hollow on the other side, the kids could go in it, they could hide in it. And there were two areas that I would go there sometime in the summertime and come in the back with flowers in my hands to plant. And there were kids in there and they scare me. But anyway, you can see how beautiful it is looking. The Reid Garden is on the one side and the Orr Garden's on the other, and you can see the inn in the distance. And this is what happened to our big paper mulberry. It just split and they took it away. It was huge. And we do have guests that come to that. Once in a while, the chefs have their own herb garden, but once in a while, they desperately need something. And they come down and they visit us because we've always had it for them. And so Barbara Lander was here and the chefs from the inn came down and they were looking for salad Burnett that time. And so they were visiting us. And then we have some really famous visitors to the garden. And they used to look over the fence and they said, do you mind if we come in? And we said, no, come right in. So they did come in. And then we have had some of the costume people come in and look for different vegetables for their demonstrations, which is really kind of fun. And then we had a very famous visitor come to the garden. This picture was taken by Laura Bianco. When the Queen was here, she drove by in a carriage. She was heading to the inn, and she did look at our garden. And we have other visitors. Wonderful butterflies. You can see all the different varieties that come on our flowers. This is the purple gomphrena. I only showed you the white one before, but the butterflies are there all the time. And then we have our wonderful volunteers. We water, we deadhead, we plant, and this is a Meet the Gardener program. We had only been getting 10 to 15 people, and this year we're getting 40 to 50 people for our Meet the Gardener tours. So, and then we have our hard workers. We have Scott, he was pruning the plants, the shrubs for us. Here, Kathy and I and Barbie decided one year that the squirrels were digging up our anemones and it was driving us crazy. So we went in late January and we soaked them and we planted them thinking that they wouldn't dig them up then. They did. And then here's Ruth, and she was among our white Italian sunflower. And see, here is the vegetable garden, people working in the vegetable garden. We're talking and deciding what to do with the plants here. And this is the Meet the Gardener again. And other volunteers. And this is Bill back here in the corner there. Do you see him with the red hat? He was always helping me keep out the weeds out of, we have a little area that we do keep a little seedlings in that we can transplant. And Karen's back there. And then here's the group of everybody. And I want you to take note of all the bulbs that are sitting on that bench that needed to be planted. We do 450 tulips. We do 400 anemones. And we usually do somewhere between, well, frequently we were planting 1,000 daffodils because we dig them up accidentally and we have to replant them. So, and we used to go ahead and the master gardeners used to do the farmer's market. So we would pick all the plants, all the flowers, do a big bouquet on the table and say, you can grow these too, ask us. And so we haven't done that in a while, but that was a way of drawing people to the table. If you have a big bouquet on the table, it draws people to the table. And that's what we used to do. And that was Kathy, Barbie, and I. We used to do that for the Master Garden. Thank you.
We got questions for you.
Any questions from the audience?
How do you say you cut the plant in half?
Literally cut it in half.
I mean, literally cut it in half. And what do you do with the top half?
If it's a flower, I take it home and enjoy it. Yes.
Have you ever tried putting the tulips in the refrigerator to get them to remove?
Well, why we don't do that is that when they're in the garden, they frequently we get very hot early and they get a botrytis, which is a fungus. We actually see it on the leaves. And for some reason, they just kind of rot in the garden. We try to take them out. You have to realize how many plants I'm putting in this garden. It's not that you have a little one here and a little one there, it's mass.
I used to do that in California with the tulips.
Right. Yeah, but we have a much different soil.
Yeah, well, I wasn't planning for it.
And I didn't have to pay for it. CW gives us all of our plants and grows all of the things.
Yeah, question. Right?
Cutting of the plants in half, is that, it's so that it spreads, correct?
Yes,
Is that for generally any type of wildflower or flower?
no, it just certain plants, certain ones that you want to tell them what you want them to do.
Okay.
You know, not every plant will do what you want to do, but you can, there's certain plants.
And how do you know which certain plants?
I've been there a long time.
Thank you.
Now, I do have some books here on the table, and they're what I have done at different times, and then there's the one from Greg that is Greg Allen's original book. I do have a list of all the plants that are in the garden. If you don't have a computer to download, there are a few copies there, but they're going to send out the list if you want it. Yes.
When did you cut the minority?
You can do that. I let it grow tall, but if you want to cut the Monarda, and if you have a big group of Monarda, you can cut half of it down when it's about 3 feet tall. If you want, now I'm talking about the tall. So if you have the one that grows about 4 or 5 feet, when it's probably about 3 feet, you cut half of it down, and so you get tall, and they will bloom about 2 weeks later. Yes?
Historically, would there have been a garden similar to what's there now? Would they have used it that way?
Well, they would have not as many flowers. But they used to tease me that I had to have every single flower on the flower list that CW ever grew. But I know I can't do that. So I do have a list of all the flowers that were grown in the 18th century, of all the flowers, and I say, can I try this? And they say, no, we don't have that anymore. But, and I don't, there's a beautiful book that's blue cover that CW did, Larry Griffin did it years ago, and his garden was across the street from us. And I would see what he was growing and I would go get his seeds. And he would share things with me. So that's why we have so many varieties. Any other questions? Yes.
The name of the flower that has the pod that pops.
It's a balsam.
Balsam.
Balsam. BALSAM. Okay.
Thank you so much, Pat. Very interesting. We'll take our break in a moment. I did want to mention in further response to Tiffany's question if you're interested in knowing what kinds of plants you can cut down to make them bushier and bloom at different times, there's a book called The Well-Tended Perennial Garden. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. It's by a gardener by the name of Tracy DeSabito Ost, The Well-Tended Perennial Garden. And she talks extensively about pruning and deadheading perennials and which ones will respond well to that treatment and which ones will not. Thank you again, Pat. You've,
Can I just make a comment about
yeah,
that? She's not in Virginia.
correct.
She is north, so you have to adjust your thoughts.
The timing would be different,
Right.
but as far as what kinds of plants
Right.
will take to that treatment,
Yeah.
I think she's pretty good on that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
have both.
All right, it is now 8 minutes to 10. We'll take our 15-minute break and then we'll reconvene for our business meeting. Thank you.
Diana, would you pause the recording until after the break?
Yes.
Thank you. Hey, Diana, if you would hit the record.
Done. I'm going to be leaving in a few minutes, so when you stop the meeting, the recording will stop also.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? Uh-huh.
We'll take your seats, please. We'll get started with our business meeting.
They get quiet. They don't sit down.
Yeah, anything about that? Anybody that wants to, is on the agenda or wants to speak to the group, if you would move down to the front so we don't have a lot of walking back and forth, I would appreciate that. All right, I'm calling the business meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from last month's meeting. Dot Finnegan circulated those earlier in the week. Did anyone have any questions, comments, or issues with the minutes as submitted by our secretary? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting. So move Vicky, Bob Howell second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Next item is VCE, but Forrest has asked to be held to the end of the meeting. So we will move on. Gary Streb, you are up with your plant sale recap.
If anybody finds a name tag with Gary Streb on it, you know where to find him.
There you are. Just
Touch the
swipe
screen.
like that. Left or right.
Great. Deb says, make sure that I don't go more than an hour. So at the hour mark, please check me off. A lot of the information that I'll be going over today was in the article in our brand new, excellent, gorgeous newsletter, the Colonial Master Garden. So if you want things in writing, just pull it up and there it is. What I'm going to do today is just give a thumbnail sketch of what the results were for the plant sale, May 6, 2023 at the Williamsburg Botanical Garden. Please put on your calendar March 11th, 2020. Oh, I'm sorry, May 11th, 2024 for plant sale 2024. whoever the leadership is for that will appreciate your thought of it since. For those of you that weren't able to make the sale, it was glorious. It looked nice. It was a beautiful day, a lot of friendly customers, and a whole lot of not only friendly, but knowledgeable master gardeners serve the community well. Annuals, all sorts of perennials, trees and shrubs, and our green thumb market place. There we go. We had over 2,700 plants donated for the sale. To put this a little bit in perspective, the year before, admittedly, was a new year because of the 3 years with COVID. We had master gardener swaps, really, rather than a sale. But in the year before, we had 1,434 plants. So we almost doubled the number of plants we had, thanks to all of you. Several contributed over 100 plants each. And 70 master gardeners did donate plants, propagated or cared for, raised, as compared to 44 the year before. I think, as you recall, when I took this on, I was a little concerned with the participation. Well, you all stepped up and participated big time here. And I certainly appreciate it. The association appreciates it, as well as all the members and the community. The Green Thumb sold over 300 items. Addition to the treasures or the donated items, we added this year artisan items with crystal bird baths, casual chairs made into planters, all sorts of craft type things, as well as oil paintings and note cards and several things. Grab and go items for Mother's Day were a good item. So we increased the visibility of the Green Thumb and as well increased the money that it brought in. We had over 70% participation in the plant sale, either by working at the plant sale, donating plants, or donating cash to the overall effort. You should be proud of yourselves. And particularly the class of 23 went over and above and beyond and came up with a 82% participation rate. Okay, so what does that really mean? In money, okay, plant sale, we pulled in over $10,000 in plants and flowers. Last year was 5,800, so quite an increase. Green Thumb, roughly the same. Donations, roughly the same. It was the plants that did it. And that's why people come to the plant sale for the plants. We pulled in a total of 12.6 compared to 83 last year. Expenses are continuing to fluctuate as we speak. So the figures that I have here are even a little off. But if you do have any outstanding reimbursements due, please let Linda Nielsen know soonest so we can close all this up. Because we're looking at a net income of 11.3 as compared to 75 last year. So I think you all did real good here. What did we do good? Whoops, not this. Oh, okay. Teamwork. equals success. And this team worked well. By our first meeting that we had, we wanted to dedicate this effort in Donna Tierney's memory. And I think she would be proud of how we carried on a lot of the procedures and guidance that she started, and we continued, I think, very successfully. Plain sale committees were set up early, but probably never early enough. Absolutely outstanding jobs. I'm not going to list everyone's names here because I'm sure we'll miss many, but certainly well appreciated. Not only the participation increased, but the quality and number of the plants increased dramatically. In the past, we've had nice plants. I mean, something that you would not be ashamed to sell, or you had to hide your eyes while you were trying to sell this. This was something that you were proud of. And I think we all were, and it certainly should be. We changed the hours for the plant sale this year, reduced it a few hours rather than the 8 to 3. We went 9 to noon, drastically cutting the hours back. But it worked. If you were there at 9:01 on the 6th of May, it looked like, we had opened up the gates of heaven and said, all bets are off, come on in. A lot of people grabbing the carts and with their lists and went through and grabbed the gorgeous plants. That first hour certainly was our busiest, and we know now how to properly plan for the number of volunteers that we need for that. We got a lot of folks in due to the marketing campaign, superb, and as well the venue with the help of James City County and the Williamsburg Botanical Garden, Judith Albert's coordination, superb support. And needless to say, Deb Bussert, with all those negotiations before we even started, made it all work. Clear organization, people knew where they were going. Signage was clear, that they knew what they were looking for. Customer service, again, I thought top notch. We answered questions, we made recommendations, we helped people, we guided people, we carried plants for people. We, I don't want to say hand carried, but escorted folks that needed some additional help throughout the gardens. And I think what will bring people back next year is how they were treated, how they were received, and as well the beautiful product that we had to offer. Trying to keep expenses low. They're constantly will always be creeping up. We spent a few $100 for annuals this year for a little bit of pop of color and a little bit of interest that sold out almost immediately. That was a recommendation from the 22 plant sale. And I do recommend that whoever's leading this next year carry on with that. I think that was very successful. This was an educational project. We had the help desk out there assisting any way, every way that they could, either passing out soil samples, answering specific questions. If folks needed more detailed help and questions, Barb was there setting them up for a landscape love visit. So we're educating right then and there, and as well continuing on with our at-home projects. Customers checkout and loading, I think, drastically improved with folks guiding all along the way. And the weather certainly was helpful in the making this all happen. Okay. Again, some pictures of the random tables. If you're familiar with the Botanical Garden, which I hope you all are at this stage, that whole path from service gate to service gate that is now roughly paved with rough gravel. Plants solid on both sides, and up also a couple of the paths leading in. Right in the center, we have the patio with the pavilion. The green thumb mark was there. Plants all the way around. Exit only through the therapy garden area where the beautiful little fairy garden is. That new layout certainly eased the way customers went through the garden. And I think you can see we had some pretty nice product. Was everything perfect? No. Will it be next year? No, nothing is. But as a group, we did come up with some recommendations that may help improve things. And if any of you, even though you weren't working, as a committee chair, but as a volunteer or as a customer or in any other capacity, if you have recommendations how we could improve this, please let me know, and I'll certainly pass that on to appropriate folks. Recommendations. First question is, how far do we want to go? I think we all came to the agreement that we've probably reached as high as we're going to with the scope of how we function and run this plant sale. If we want to get a whole lot bigger, we're going to have to talk about different venues, somehow squeezing blood out of a turnip to get more plants. I mean, 2,700 plants is a lot of merchandise. Mary Sipes will attest to that, and Stacy and whoever had to touch every single plant before they were put on the table. That if we wanted to significantly increase the scope of the plant sale, that's going to be quite a job. Do we need to? Do we need the money at this point? Those are strategic questions that our board will be looking at with the recommendations that we'll be presenting. In the short term, suggest keeping the venue, keeping the hours. The digging parties that we had a couple before in the past, but Deb Sinise went completely wild with organizing volunteer teams to go out to homes and dig plants up. I mean, we're talking like 500 plants. That's a lot of plants that had to be chosen, dug up, transported, cared for, transported to site. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And we've got some strong recommendations on how we can improve on that whole things as well. The one little issue that we did have is, since we had so many plants already in storage at the I'd still call it the Waller Mill facility, but the learning garden at Waller Mill, is where we stored all the plants and cared for them. We delivered those and to some other locations that had a lot of plants that would not be easy to just meld in with all of the master gardeners that were told to bring their plants between 9 and noon. There were 200 and some at my house, 500 here. So we brought those in Thursday ahead of time so we could do the little bit of quality control and pricing before the rest of the Master Gardener membership showed up with their plants. We got a lot more done than we thought we would. So when the crew came in the next morning, all the tables were already set up. There were plants, 1,000 plants on the tables already. So we had, a little bit of issue with a whole lot of people looking at work that was already done. So we will certainly fix that. And I think dividing the setup into 2 half days may be the way to do that. We had over 1,000 or 1,100 plants delivered before we had asked all the master gardeners to bring their plants in on Friday. That's a lot. And looking at the figures over and over, we had several instances where plants were left at the gate with no tags, plants left at the gate with no names. We still have 99 plants that someone very graciously left. We have no idea who that person may be. We also had names on a couple that we have no idea who they are. They're certainly not master gardeners. And I wish I had jotted them down, but Provost, I think, was the last name on one, Mary, if you remember the names. But, 2 mystery people left their names, but, the master gardeners didn't. Folks that showed up for the first shift brought all their plants before the 9 o'clock. So we had not enough folks ready to process all that before the rest of the crew showed up between 9 and noon. And pure to form, more people showed up at 9 o'clock than we had expected, and by noon it was wide open. So we need to re-educate ourselves when we say, please bring your plants appropriately labeled, well watered. At this gate between these hours, we do that for a reason. It's just not to make up rules, but there is a chain of events that have to happen before we can open the gates for the customers. And that's strictly a re-education that we'll do better next time with that. By enforcing our own rules and guidance. We still ended up with some invasives. We still ended up with several plants that were not in a sellable condition. When we closed the sale and the Master Gardener appreciation sale, the plants that we donated to the Williamsburg Botanical Garden, several of those weren't accepted by the Botanical Garden for some reason or another. So we're going to have to stick by our standards rather than being Mr. Nice Guy, whoever may be leading this next year. We need really a master list of plants that we would like all of you to come up with for the plant sale. Everyone did their own, and I think we did well. We did have a lot of Acorus that we still have a lot of Acorus, ground cover, sweet flag, for those that aren't familiar with that. So we end up with a lot of one thing that you could kind of max out on the purchasing ability to get rid of all of that. So what the leadership will need to do is come up kind of with a wish list. Is we would like this, that, and the other, and kind of figure out what we need to ask you to provide. Another issue that we need to think about is how to store all of the green thumb stuff before the sale. Asking fellow master gardeners to open up their garage for 2 or 3 months, leave your car outside, and is having all this stuff coming in and out, and then transporting it to the site, maybe asking quite a bit. Ask the folks who did it and they'll tell you, yeah, it is. But that's something we may want to consider with, an off-site storage facility of some sort. And there were lots of little procedural things that will be transparent to the whole group. But as far as recommendations, nothing drastic, nothing earth-shattering. I think we don't need to fix a whole lot of things that aren't broken. And we'll continue to plan early and plan often. We had monthly meetings. That was probably just about right. And lastly, the whole team who worked on this, and since I'm not near by hour yet, let me go in to make it an hour. Deb says, I knew he wouldn't shut up. Marion Guthrie with communications, plant propagation, acquisition, quite an effort to do. Debbie Sinise and Vicki Rockwell, in charge of inventory, creating the worksheets that we all sent in to computer generate the labels, distribution of the labels to each plant. Dave Banks, Mary Syke went on forever with intake. And there was a whole lot of intake issues before the first plant showed up with determining what the quality standards will be, what invasives we will not be taking. And as well, her team taking a look at every plant to make sure that it met standards, looked good, and well watered, which we can't stress enough. Pricing 2,800 plants with the appropriate pricing stickers, Stacy DeMeo and her group. And as well, if that wasn't enough, the next day they came back for more and did all of the tallying up on the newly created sheets that I think worked quite well. So thank you for that. Jim Owens orchestrated the placement, the signage, and organization of all the plants. And I had 4 neighbors of mine that went to the plant sale. And the one thing that they mentioned was how well organized it was. So I think that's really good. My next door neighbor at the plant sale, he came up to me and he said, I'm looking for some wetland plants. And it just so happens that where Joanne Sheffield is, we table that said wetlands on it. I just went, he says, ooh, you guys are good. So if you can please him, you can please anybody, trust me. The Green Elephant team looked like a store. It was gorgeous. Elizabeth Myers, Christine Mason, Linda Becker, Terry McGlennon, and cast of thousands, made that all happen. Nothing happens until something moves. The logistics appeared flawless. Tables were there. Anything that we needed happened. Organization of the customer service, the carts, everything was where it should be on time, which certainly made it a whole lot easier for the customer experience. Organizing all of the volunteers, the couple of hundred folks that we have, and make some sense of when to show up and what you're going to be doing. Dot Finnegan and Carol Beers worked with Sign Up Genius. We now again have identified a few little tweaks, but folks knew what they were going to do and when they were going to do it. So that's rather than just showing up and going, what am I, where do you want me? That's oh, okay. I guess I've reached my hour. Okay, but I'm not going to walk away without saying to Linda Nielsen, thank you for pulling in all of these $12,000 and making sense of it. So we know where we were and where we need to go. One final sentence. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you. From me, from the committee chairs, and as well the whole organization. We're now, I think, in good financial straits because of your enthusiasm, your professionalism, dedication, and just being damn nice folks. Thanks.
You want Linda next?
Yeah, next on the agenda is our treasurer's report, Linda Nielsen.
Okay.
We'll put him down in the corner.
Okay, for May's reconciliation, there's two adjustments. Since today is the closing, I was not able to give a true accounting, but we had $30 more in income. And the interest on the savings account is $28.02 instead of $25. So those are the two adjustments. So I will be sending that out to be put into better impact. Any questions? If not, thank you.
Let me get your PowerPoint here for you. You shouldn't be seeing all these things behind the scenes.
But it's impressive.
The magic is. There you are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, $11,000+, and that's after expenses. Amazing, amazing. If any of you spend any time looking at the treasurer's report that Linda sent out, you'll see that it looks like we've got a lot of money in our account. What are we going to do with all that money? Well, we are going to party. We've got our picnic coming up, and certainly some of that money will be used for the picnic. But I just wanted to remind everyone how many projects we have going. We have a lot of projects, and those projects have budgets. Any of you that were involved in the budgeting process this past year, the project leads, I'm sure will remember that many of you had to cut back on your requests a little bit because we were trying hard to get a balanced budget based on our projections. Well, what we projected for the plant sale was, what was it, 6,500? So yeah, how about that? How about that? One thing I learned many years ago is that you can budget, and the very first day that you start operating under whatever budget is, it's going to be wrong. Your expenses are going to be higher or lower, your income is going to be higher or lower, but you budget based on your best, I don't want to call it a guess, but it's kind of a guess. So again, look at these projects that we have, all the demonstration gardens. We talk about the Colonial Williamsburg gardens. Now they get their most of their funding from Colonial Williamsburg, but still we have expenses. We buy plants, we buy seed, we buy potting soil, we buy mulch. Sometimes we have to replace tools. Every once in a while, maybe we buy snacks or we buy drinks for our volunteers working in the gardens when it gets hot. So we need to have this funding for to keep our projects going. And by the way, this isn't all. There's more. We've got our school gardens. We've got all our community outreach, our homeowner education, and our stewards. So if you think we have too much money, think again. Also, some of you in this room may remember that when COVID hit, we suddenly could not have our plant sale, and we were in a little bit of financial straits. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And one of the things that the current board has done has set up a process for contributing on a regular basis to what we're calling a rainy day fund, or our backup funds, so that if some disaster were to happen again and we had to go a year without additional funding, we would have a cushion to be able to keep functioning. So I just wanted to make that point, because we do get asked occasionally, well, what are we doing with all this money? Why do we have so much money? And the reason is we want to be able to continue to support our many valuable programs, to get out into the community and to do what we all want to do as master gardeners, which is educate and work in the community, work together, and yeah, have some fun once in a while. All right, administration is the next item. Did you have anything, Vicki? I know you're not currently, but you're kind of the designated hitter at the moment.
I'm a lousy ball player, but I just wanted to announce the library lecture series, which is coming up the second Saturday of the month. And this month, I'm pleased to announce that Peggy Kraft will be presenting Walk on the Wild Side. which is going to focus on habitat gardening for birds, butterflies, and other pollinators. And it'll be at the James City County Library on Croker Road on June 10th from 10:15 to 11:15. So I hope to see many of you there. Thank you.
Okay, it's me again. Now I want to just make a pitch for a need that we have in the association, which is, wrong way, I need to appoint a vice president of administration. Christine Mason, who had been doing a standout job, unfortunately for personal reasons, has had to resign, although she's still ready, willing, and able to help train and support and consult with whoever is willing to step up and take this position. Qualifications are not difficult to meet. We need somebody who is a master gardener in good standing. Aside from our 2023 trainees, that would be all of you. We need someone with basic computer skills. You don't have to be a computer whiz. Trust me, I've learned how to use Better Impact, and you can too. And again, both Christine and Vicki Rockwell, who was our previous vice president of administration, are well-versed in what needs to be done and will be more than happy to work with whoever steps up to take this position. And then you need to be available to attend most of our monthly board meetings and most of our business meetings. We, of course, understand that people have family emergencies or like to go on vacation once a year or twice a year, maybe, you know, go to Egypt or something like that. So those are the qualifications. And I would venture to guess that just about everybody in this room would meet those qualifications. This position is the person that manages the roster, assists the members at the end of the year with their annual recertifications. You may recall that in, I think it was either December or January, we had a couple of board members out in the hall with their computers and helping people sign up and get recertified and do everything they needed to do. Monitoring the hours, you know, those little nagging emails when you get it towards the end of the year if you don't have enough hours. Works with our transfers, handles requests for changes of status, milestone awards, and the nominating committee. Sounds like a lot, and it's an important position, but the good thing is that like most of these positions, you can do it in your jammies. You can do it at night. You can do it whenever you want. Other than coming to meetings, there's just not a lot of scheduled things that you have to do. And there's benefits. You get to know your fellow master gardeners a lot better. You work with your board members. We have a good time. We have some serious issues to consider at our board meetings, but we always have a few laughs, right? You're performing a valuable service for your association. Everything that you do is important. Don't get me wrong. But being a board member, taking on one of these positions is really critical to keeping our association running smoothly, in compliance with VCE requirements, and assisting each other in doing what we need to do. So please think long and hard about whether you might be the person who this time can step up, take on this role, learn what needs to be done, and fill out this position. You can contact me. You can contact Vicki. If you want to just talk more about what the role involves, you can talk to either Vicki or Christine. They both would be happy to talk to you, you know, and allay any concerns that you may have. If you think maybe it's not for me, but maybe it is. But we're looking for someone to step up and take this on. So I urge you to seriously consider it. All right, that's enough from me. Debbie Sineeth, you want to talk a little bit about upcoming programs? And then we'll hear from Elizabeth Myers on what's going on in our projects.
Here you are.
Okay. So for July, we're going to have our picnic, so there won't be a formal program in July. But in August, Mary Toth, who is a senior horticulturist at the Norfolk Botanical Garden, will be giving us a presentation on moss gardening. She's going to discuss the benefits, the growth patterns, and basically the simple art of gardening with moss. So that should be proved quite interesting, I think. So that's it for me for this time. And who is next? Elizabeth? All righty, thank you.
It's always so good to see such a comprehensive list of the projects that we have going and the community outreach and the service that this unit does across multiple jurisdictions, both in James City County and in New Kent. The ask that I have for you this morning is an opportunity, actually 2 opportunities. Our projects are led by hardworking and dedicated project leads. And these people come up with enthusiasm, with energy, with planning of those 28 or so projects that you just saw up on the board. We actually have 2 opportunities for project co-leads, because leading a project is always better with a friend and a partner. And so we have 2 opportunities. The first being our Speakers Bureau. We have a Speakers Bureau. Most of you who participate in the Bureau know that that is led by Jay Templin. Jay needs a partner. He needs some help. He needs a co-lead. And it would be wonderful, and talk about a project you can do in your jammies. It is fairly administrative what he needs and how he can have some help with that. And so if you do not have to be a member of the Bureau to be a co-lead here, what we really need is someone who can help with planning and organization. So if you're looking for something that has hours associated with it that you can do with coffee on your deck, I think this is the co-lead project for you. So that's one. The next one is equally as enticing. Tiffany Gazel has done an amazing job leading the project at Maddie's Garden. If you have not seen recent photos of Maddie's and the updates that Tiffany's planning and organization, as well as the team who put together, you have got to stop by and see this just absolutely adorable school demonstration garden and the various areas that Tiffany has planned and the team has planted. Tiffany is looking for a co-lead as well. This garden is thriving, and under Tiffany's leadership, she's also done an amazing job working with the administration at the Matthew Whaley School, who has re-energized their focus on the garden as a demonstrating and educational opportunity, even connected with SOLs.
All the grades.
All grades. So not just first and third, not just kindergarten, but there's some really good news and good things coming out of the Maddie's Garden. And so if you are interested in becoming a part of that team, but also being a co-lead, because Tiffany would really like, again, things are better with friends and partners. And so give those some consideration. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is our Vice President of Communications, Marion Guthrie, who would like to share a few tidbits about communications with you. And then I think we have Joanne Sheffield, who also has an update on the Virginia Master Garden Association.
Thank you. So I just have a less than 60-second. Thank you. I just have a less than 60-second video of the plant sale, which I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing. It's done by Odd Moxie Marketing and Design. They're a small firm. happened to be owned by my daughter and son-in-law, who under duress are helping us out in major ways. I needed a graphic designer and I couldn't afford one. So Gretchen said, "What is making you so uptight?" And I said, "I have this stuff I want to do for the Master Gardeners, but I just need a graphic designer." So isn't that fun? I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of us. I mean, let's just take a minute. I'm so proud of us. It's great. So that
For each one of the projects, we need.
I don't know if I'm that persuasive. So they are doing this for us on a no cost basis, of course, because we don't have those kinds of budgets. But we're lucky we've captured it, and it will be posted on our website within the next few days. I just have to get to it. So thank you for that. And remember, if you're looking for a good time, join the communications team. We have so much going on. The picnic's coming up. We're gonna probably use the invitation that Linda Becker designed for us for last year's with Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Our illustrious president has asked that we include some dignitaries from the state and local governments and areas. So we're going to try to invite some big folks too. And of course, we're going to all be there having a good old time. So that's our next big project. And I look forward to working with you. So thank you. It will be in a couple of days. Oh, excuse me.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a few things about VMGA. Unfortunately, you've heard them many times before. Please join. We do have about 40 members or 41 members in our group, and that's outstanding. If anybody wants to be high up in the administration of VMGA, there are lots of opportunities, and there certainly is much to do, much to improve. The amount is only $12, and as I mentioned before, if I'd only paid the $120, I would be not paying anything anymore. But take that in mind if you think you're going to be a member for 10 years or more. You won't believe that you are, but going to be, but it does happen. Now, Master Gardener College. It seems that only Angela Singale and Gary Streb are going. Gary is offering free ride to anybody who wants to. It's getting late to sign up. But the other thing was that we were asked through MGA to donate any garden items for the silent auction. And Angela already has a donation from Debbie Saneef. If anybody else has a plant or a tool or mushrooms that you want to donate, let us know right away, because next week they'll be going. The annual meeting will hopefully be Zoomed, and that's on 4:30, June 10th. When the link comes through, I'll see that it's sent out to all of you. It's something to look at. Yeah, it only happens once a year and you will be inspired to help them out. I hope. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. On other business, we have some presentations concerning our water steward graduates. And Gary Streb and Forrest Hobbs are going to handle that, so I will turn the meeting over to them.
Hello again. This time I'm the unit coordinator for the Peninsula Water Steward organization for James City County, the coordinator, and all of the 6 units that form the Peninsula Water Stewards. We had the water steward training class last fall, the first time since 2012. So the class is offered every 4th year at Master Gardener College. The last time was 2019 in Norfolk. So it's the training has been sparse and not really well organized in the past. So this last year, we had a planning committee led by Dr. Lori Fox from the ARAC in Virginia Beach, the agent from Hampton, Galen Callahan, and a member from Virginia Beach, and 3 members from our unit here to develop from scratch a training class consisting of 30 hours of classroom training and 20 hours dedicated to creating from scratch a water steward project. This is a similar program that most of you are familiar with the tree stewards. We do the same thing with water issues. So we had a class of almost 20, 8 from James City County, and to date, 7 have completed their requirements and now are official VCE Master Gardener Water Stewards. So today we'd like to recognize that significant accomplishment that they'll all have. One little glitch is the certificate and pin that Forrest, the approving agent for all of the projects and everything that we do, they're not here. So we're going to give you a verbal IOU that they will be with you as soon as possible. But would like you to come up. Forrest will congratulate you. Stay up here, and we'll be quickly adjoining up here, and we'll take a group photo. I think once the general membership of the unit see what the water stewards are now doing after a hiatus of about 10 years, we'll get some interest in a lot of the water issues that we have here in James City County. Okay, with the class, we've had several new projects created and approved by the board and signed off by Forrest. The first is a project called Water Matters. You can read that both ways, Water Matters, and then anything about water. Water Matters. So we are looking at a on-site, a home visit project similar to Landscape Love and Turf Love and the pruning clinic, where a team of water stewards will go out to homes that have water issues. Right now, the project is about that far from an open call to the Williamsburg community this afternoon, doing the final of the practice visits. But if you've got a home that has erosion problems, water direction coming from your neighbor that's inundating your yard, any sort of issue with irrigation, erosion, will be visited by a team from Water Matters. It'll be run just like we do with the tree stewards, getting in touch with the help desk and filling out the application. So you'll all be eligible as well. But the project is going to be co-led by Patsy McGrady and Ginny Cranford. So if Patsy, please. Patsy was one of the reps who helped design the program, the training course. Even though she wasn't yet a water steward, she has the wherewithal to be able to pull together a viable class without being officially approved here, okay? And again, we'll simulate a certificate in a pin here with a congratulations. The pin looks like that if anyone's interested. Jenny Cranford also was on the team that created the training class.
That's good.
Okay. Camille Fisher, a fairly new master gardener to our unit here. Mary Grogan, been with us for a while as well, and not here, but Carol Black is the 5 water stewards who have put together this project and have at least completed the minimum 20 hours, which was probably done before the class was actually done, but have done yeoman's work at pulling together this new project for us. The second project is the Virginia Household Water Quality Program, which is a Virginia cooperative directed program that our agent Forrest wanted to get up and running since we have not tested the water for home wells for quite a while. This is a program that we want to expand, and Bob Burris took this on, has been working closely with Forrest to create this this VCE program. The first session and having folks meet together to start the water testing quality program is the middle of this month, if I'm not mistaken, the 14th. So look for some ads if you own a well and you get your drinking water from well sources. Get it tested to make sure that it's on the up and up. The next project that was been
Can we kill that slide and bring up the house lights so we can take some pictures of this moment?
Sure. Could we up there take the? What's he doing? Yeah. Yeah, I guess at this stage, yeah. He's trying, okay, yeah. Yeah, there's too many lights. This wasn't as well planned as the plant sale. So if you have any questions, problems, or comments about water quality, Bob's your man. The third program that we have approved and almost working, still in the planning stage, is the Brickyard Landing Park, erosion control park and meadow. Deb had it up on the list of the funded projects. And a lot of you probably looked at it and said, I've never heard of it before. Well, that's why. Judy Kinshaw Ellis has created the project and is going to be needing some help with putting together the appropriate teams to orchestrate the execution of the 2 erosion gardens and the meadow. It's being professionally designed for what we need. And Judy is in North Carolina right now, eagerly awaiting the birth of her first grandchild. So she considered that more important than so. Congratulations to her. And I'd like to offer a round of applause to all of our new water stewards. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a second. Yes, we're going to be around with Bob Burris to talk about the water testing program here at the end of the meeting. So we're needing some more involvement and interest in this. So that incredible group of volunteers, and thank you so much.
All right, does anybody else have anything that they want to present to the association this morning? All right, seeing no hands, I want to leave you with a thought. This was on a bumper sticker that I saw on a car this morning driving here. Stay sexy and don't get murdered. All right. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mary and Christine second. Everybody's already getting up, so I'm taking that as an aye vote to adjourn the meeting at 11:14. Thanks, everyone. No meeting in July, don't forget, because we have our picnic. Get a month off.
Thank you.